So we're back at it again. I just want to pass on some top tips about saving money, as I've normally done in the campervan conversions, and also about, and it's going to sound melodramatic this, but stick with me because there is logic in it, about saving lives. And it all comes down to how safe those campervan bed seats are. And you'll be forgiven if you're out there doing a conversion. One of the things you can have as a criteria is the seat must be crash tested. Totally get that. You're going to stick your kids on it, your grandkids on it, your loved ones, etc. Totally understandable that you're ticking that box to be crash tested. But here's a news flash: there's no such thing as a crash test. It's actually called a pull test, and it's relevant because seatbelts are anchored to that seat frame. So in particular, it's the shoulder point up here. So you pull off the click it in your hip, and it's all of the seat frame. So in a collision, the powers that be need to know that shoulder point, when it pulls forward, pull test, it doesn't make the seat collapse with you on it. So people like us who sell seats, we need to sort of like get you to buy this thing. So we call it a crash test, but like I say, it's really called a pull test. Now this pull test, it costs money. The people who manufacture these seats, it costs a bit of money, and they have to recover that money back. So when you're on the internet, they're looking for your crash test seat, thinking you're doing the right thing. You're going to pay extra for a crash tested seat. Right, and it gives you that reassurance. I've paid all this, but it says crash tested. It's as good as it's going to be. But here's the logic: is when you get in your family car or indeed the cab of your camper van, you will pull a seatbelt off your B post across yourself and click it in at the hip. Now you've got three individual mounting points there: shoulder, hip, hip. And that's the best way. It's tried and tested, proven way of keeping you safe. It's your individual strap to that seat. Now, them physics aren't the same when it comes to a camper van bed seat. And the best way I can explain this to you is, if I was to get a feather and I bit of sticky tape and I stick it to the floor of your van, exactly where you're going to put your camper van bed seat, and then, and forgive me for this one, but if I take your camper van and I shove it off a cliff and it hurdles to the bottom and smashes to smithereens, when I go back down there, that feather will be exactly where I stuck it, and it's only held in place with a bit of sticky tape. And the reason it's still there, it's just physics. That feather has no mass. There is no weight to it at all. So there's got no momentum to fly forward. And like I said, the physics are different on a camper van bed seat. So if you've already got one, you will know just how heavy these things are. You're talking 100 kilos upwards. And then you start adding boards to it, and foam, and footboards and rear boards, and you're strapping occupants to it, and you're putting things in it. Before you know where you're at, that thing's 400, 500, 600 kilos. And that pull test that you've paid for, or either crash test, call it what you will, it's only relevant up here. It's only relevant to stop that seat from doing that. But there's different things in play now, because you've strapped all this mass to one thing. It's all about what's holding to that van floor, and that van floor is tin. So in a collision, a lot of things want to tear that thing straight out the van floor. And since the COVID staycation craze, there's been lots of people building camper vans, and it's understandable. You stick a bolt through, put a wash underneath, put a nut on it, job done, feels solid. Realistically, in a collision, that would tear straight out the van floor, and the occupants of that seat will splat into the back of the front people, occupants. So it's not safe at all. So top tip to save money, if you've not actually bought a camper van seat just yet, is to buy an untested one. They're a lot cheaper, and then put the seat belts individually round each person. Now, outside occupants, you can usually go to a post somewhere. If you happen to be somewhere central, there's nothing wrong with lap seat belts. Perfectly crash tested and safe thing. Them, don't worry about them at all. If you are concerned about them, you could still get a 3-point belt, because up here somewhere in your headlining will be some structure, so you can fetch a a belt through like they are on some people carriers and things like that. So you can go the extra mile, and it's making it safe for your occupants. And like I say, an untested seat is a lot safer. And it all comes down to weight as well. And as a quick plug, like I say, we do an aluminium lightweight, it's about 20 kilos camper van seat, so it's not got the same amount of mass to catapult people forward. If you've already got a camper van seat fitted into your vehicle, then you can need to make that safe. So it's already got the seat belts to it. It's all about now is anchoring it properly. And like I say, if yours is just literally bolted through a wash underneath, it's not going to be adequate. You can get floor strengthening plates, and again we do sell them. But here's the thing as well, is these things can't be tested properly because everything is a sliding scale. It's how heavy the seat is, how thick the van floor is, how many occupants can be on the seat, what speed of impact. There's that. It's just, it's absolutely impossible really to get to measure everything there. There is certain things out there that do test things inside van shells, but I mean, you're talking a lot of money to do that. So realistically, it's just not viable. So them plates, they are out there, but it all comes down to installer's discretion to how that seat's being fitted. There's a couple of ways you can safeguard what you've already got, and that is you'll have a chassis leg there somewhere, perhaps not outrunners and things like that. It's to re-drill your seat frame straight through everything, straight through the seat frame, van floor, straight through that chassis leg of the outringer. Stick a spacer tube in your chassis leg so when you do tighten it up, you don't crush it, because as soon as you put some sort of kink in it, it's lost its integrity, so you don't really want that to happen. And the bolts, if you are bolting through vertically in that environment, you've got all that weight, then you're probably looking for a tensile strength of that bolt of being about 12.9, and it's all about the pull that way on the bolt. Another way of doing it is angle iron. So now underneath the van floor, your angle iron's going that way, then down the chassis leg, bolt that way through your chassis leg to the side of the angle, and then obviously up through the floor into the seat frame. Now your pull on them bolts is across that way on the bolt. So you don't want to be as tensile. You need to be a little bit softer. So you're looking for about an 8.8 tensile strength bolt there. Something else which would be in play would be if you've insulated the van floor and you've got the seat sat on top of the insulation, so you've got plywood, polystyrene kind of thing. In a collision, the seat wants to push through the van floor at the bottom, the front, sorry, and the back wants to tear out and effectively do a somersault thing going forward. Now, if you've got something that can give here because of the polystyrene insulation, then as that collapses, there's enough force there to shear the bolts off, and obviously out it all comes. So ideally, if you can, go all the way down to the van floor, and obviously onto some strengthening plates there. If you can't, then at least put some spacer tubes the same height as what your insulation is, just to stop that give. Hopefully that'll stop the bolts from shearing there for you. So like I said, top tip, if you've not bought a seat, don't bother wasting money for a crash tester seat. Just get any seat that's tickles your pickle, and make sure the seat belts go around the individual occupants and go back to the van floor as such. If you've got a seat already, make sure it's reinforced. I know that's been a bit negative and detrimental, but nevertheless you need to know. If you've got a friend out there who's got a camper van, then please share this on to them, because they need to have a look at them supports as well. And that's it. So if you like what I've got to say, like I said, albeit it's been a bit negative, hit that like and share and subscribe and like it, and keep safe, and I'll see you on the next one. Thank you. Bye bye.